Welcome back, everybody. Everybody had a good spring break. I'm glad you're able to find the room. I know it's different. This room actually has working technology, so we're going to use this one for a bit. Next week meeting will be in the old room, but then we'll come back to this room, and then that's it for the rest of the semester. Um, cool. If you're new, or if you're not new, please sign in. This is just how I do attendance, so we know who's here, who's not here, for various things. I greatly appreciate it. For those who are new here, introduce myself real quick. My name is Matthew Price. I am the president of CyberUC. So, hello. How do you have it? This QR code has a bunch of different, all of our social media and stuff on it. So our website, if you're not in our Discord yet, our Discord's in there. Our Instagram's on there. Sometimes we post that. Yeah, it's cool stuff there. Announcements. So, there's a few CTFs going on. First of which is NCL Spring Competition. The deadline for us being able to sponsor your I don't know how it's registration fee is over, but you can still join and participate on our as part of University Cincinnati on our team. Just you have to let Hugh Sweezy know. He's not here, but he's in our Discord. Shoot him a DM, and he'll be happy to help you with that. But the individual game is April 5th, and the team game is on April 14th. Last fall, we had a team place top 5, and our top team placed 5th in the nation against a bunch of other colleges and such. That was pretty cool. Hoping to do the same this year. On the 13th, so right between that, we are hosting a mini CTF. So if you're new to CTF, you know what it is. It's essentially like a cybersecurity competition where like you try and solve some problems. If you've never done before, this is a pretty good way to try it. We're essentially testing out our current execs, see what they can actually handle it. So the cool thing about this is you will have the problems to solve in it, but we are also asking you to try and break stuff. So that be like you do DDoS attacks against the problems, see what you can do, cause trouble, and it's okay. Most CTFs have that pretty much locked down, but we're going to try and let you guys go crazy. Yes. Bearcat CTF. So we are starting the planning processes for next year's Bearcat CTF 2025. If you want to be helping involved with that, please let me know. I know you are, but is anybody else here a winner of last year's Bearcat CTF 2024? Well, you don't. Yeah. I have your prizes here. So talk to him afterwards. Anthony. You'll get your sword. On the 3rd of April, we are having an industry speaker come in, Brad. To be honest, I don't think he actually is. I think he's in the middle of job transition right now, so I don't think he actually works for anyone yet. But he has pretty vast experience in different cybersecurity disciplines, so we're excited to hear what he has to say about that. And there's empty bullet points. If you're interested in this mini CTF I was talking about, please scan that QR code and sign up there. We're going to just create like a Discord channel for everybody just so you can provide feedback. So if you want to do that, please do. Cool. Any questions about anything I talked about so far? If you're new, we have various committees. This is in our Discord on the community selection. We have lab, so we have a lab over in Manti 516 that has a servers that we are managing and we're trying to get going. That's what. Group for heads up. We have PA, Public Affairs. This is very different things. We have our social media, which Kate manages. We go to high school outreach events, which we've actually done 2 in the past month, which is pretty cool. And also just general recruitments. And then we have finance, which Andrew heads. That is just basically fundraising efforts and all that fun stuff. Mentioned in that up there. Content. So if you weren't here last week, good. It was spring break. Leave before that, we had wow. I should. Was it the other guy? Yeah, we actually had an industry speaker, Coleman King, come in, and he talked about various malware related things in his career. So it's pretty cool. Some news. Sign the news back up. Okay. So the U.S. National Security Advisor and EPA Administrator Michael Reagan, those are 2 people. I just didn't put the first name. They warned governors today, as of yesterday, that hackers are deliberately attacking water critical infrastructure. So the past few months, there's been several different states and areas that had water systems compromised, and it has become so severe that they're issuing a warning about it because it's becoming a very popular thing. So that's pretty interesting. Microsoft is officially deprecating 1024-bit RSA keys in Windows. Internet standards have basically said these are not safe since like 2013. So it's been 10 years, but they're finally deprecating it. We should be using 2048-bit keys or higher. Okay, this next one I didn't do too much research on because I know a few people in here have. Apex Legends. There's allegedly a remote code execution flaw in Apex Legends. Who here has any more information about that? Go for it. Sorry.
A little bit of info about it. Right now it's kind of like a Spider-Man thing again, type of thing where I think it's not very
Yeah. Well,
did we ever confirm that whole thing is like execute code like outside of the context of the game? As far as I'm aware, the ground zero of the whole thing, like that whole like cheese popping up,
Yeah.
that was like contained within the game and didn't affect it.
I'm not sure.
As far as I know.
Okay, well, I'm an avid Dead by Daylight player, so immediately the entire community got on, and they were like, it's not the anti-cheat, it's just EA, and what you can do with it is you can leak IP addresses and take access to computers. And mostly just ransomware was the issue, was the big one. So that's what's been going on. Just Apex.
That's like massive because they're kind of level.
Yeah. Wild stuff. Nothing.
Also, I remember there was a tweet out where the people were affected that had a screenshot of a Malwarebytes blocking like a certain IP that was sensitive connection to port 135, which is like RPC.
Yeah.
That's a little sketchy.
Yeah.
The only information I have was watching a little tidbits of a live stream with John Hammond and Pirate Software.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. We'll see what happens. I'm assuming more will come of that of the next few weeks. Nothing that happened was I'm not butchering this. Fujitsu, they're actually the sixth largest IT provider in the world. They're based in Japan. They suffered a malware breach and lost a whole lot of data. This was fairly new, so there's not much to tell about what it was. But yeah, that happened. IT ones. There's a new acoustic keyboard sidechain attack that researchers have found. This is not a new concept. You've been able to do this before, but their main shtick with this is that it's able to operate in real world conditions. So a lot of keyboard sidechain attacks have very specific keyboards and very specific conditions. Like it's very much a setup space. Or they are able to effectively do this like this. They do like this keyboard right here. This was a snippet from a research paper. As you see, they don't require a large data set, don't require a specific keyboard. Training complexity is not there. There's no typing power limitation, and there's no environmental noise limitation. Yes, it does only result in a 43% success rate, but given those lack of criteria, it's pretty impressive. And that will only get better. Cool. The emails have any news that they saw in this case?
Okay, so my grandpa, he does the water system for Middletown, and I got to tour the water facility. The software looks like it's straight out of 1997. I have a photo of it on my phone somewhere. I'll have to pull it up, but like literally, like it's like what is it? A command line. Like it's all big, bright green letters. It's so funny.
Just
I mean, it's not funny because it's water, but
Yeah. So that's why they issued that warning. Stuff like that. Yeah. What's up?
So I have the condition thing pulled up here. Apparently, this is pretty embarrassing. They had to go private security as quite and plain text passwords out in the open unnoticed.
Wow.
And the bad thing about this is apparently they have government contracts.
Oh yeah, of course.
How old them?
So this is why cybersecurity exists.
Exactly.
Cool. Anybody else have anything that they saw recently? Or in the past month, because we haven't done it in the past month? Cool. All right. I think that's all I have. Yep. Now we're gonna have Nala come up and she's gonna talk through some cool hacker stories like Operation Security.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
We miss you already, King.
What?
We miss you already, King. Oh, I know it's working. Is it working? It's not working.
My mind's just working. Yeah.
Oh, it's doing it. Oh my god, I fixed it.
Anthony, check this shit, make sure it's good.
Yeah.
Goodbye, big fan.
Make sure you project it out.
How do you forget? Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know more buttons, please.
We're lagging.
Bye.
Hello, Cyber EC Club. So I decided to do something less technical because I feel like we're always focusing on like, oh my God, there's backdoors in the CPUs and the government put them there. But like low key, I think our biggest ops are ourselves. So first of all, burnt in the terms that like you get caught by the police doing whatever you're doing. Like literally all you have to do is not advertise yourself. Don't use your home network. Don't use email at all. Trust no one and try to blend in as much as you can. Because what's interesting is that a lot of hackers will get caught because they want to do something flashy and then they leave something in the code and then they get caught because they're like, oh, Connor, I see your name right there. So bad OPSEC is our main issue, and I have many stories about this, and I feel like you guys will enjoy them very well. In 2021, Peekskill, New York. So raid forms get seized by the FBI and everybody else you can think of. There's a hacker called Pom Pom Purin, and he's like, hey, I am going to remake raid forms from the ground up, and it's going to be great because I was an active user on there, and I feel like I can pull these people to salvation. Yes, he was. Yes. And before he did that, he was like, you know what if I just like set myself up for failure in the long run? And that's exactly what he did. So it all started in messages with the old administrator of Raid Forms because he had sold him data breaches from a government website. I think it had like 31 million logins and stuff like that. And he's like, hey, I looked myself up on the Have I Been Pwned and my email's not on the data breach that you sent me. I think it's half complete. And the admin's like, darn, do you have any examples? And he's like, well, I don't want to dox myself, so I'm not going to share my email. This is not a screenshot of his email from the court forms that I read. Anyways, so he's like, yeah, this email didn't work. And he's like, okay, weird. And they kind of sorted out, so they sent the rest of the data breach over, and that was that. So he used his phone to sign into the hacker forms under all of his aliases on his parents' Wi-Fi. Just nothing. No IP cover-ups, no Tor, just vibes. And this led the Alphabet Boys to figure out that his dad's name was Fitzpatrick. What's on that email? Fitzpatrick. So he was making phone calls. He was doing business transactions on these phones. So they have every single time that he used those phones listed on the court papers. So there's no point in using a VPN because eventually a few months later he starts to use a VPN. And I feel like maybe he saw like one of those YouTuber ads that were like, NordVPN, I can fix your problems. And so what happened was he signed into the VPN and then he signed into his regular email on the same VPN IP. What's going on there? So they arrested him a few months after, and they waited that long because they wanted him to turn 20 so they could hit him with the full force of the law.
And that's the end of Popcorn Fun. Anyways,
If I remember
2016.
correctly, on the seizure notice that they put on like his copy of break forums, they have like a little animation like all of her
Yeah.
handcuffs and all that. It's hilarious.
Gainesville, Florida. We have a 14-year-old who wants to make bomb threats. Cool. All right. I see the vibe. I don't want to take an algebra test. I know what I should do. Let's call him a bomb threat from the dark web. Sure. Why not? So he goes to a website. He calls it a bomb threat. It works great the first time. It works great the second time. He tells all of his friends, hey, I call it a bomb threat. Say thanks. And then the third time, the teachers are getting pretty fed up. They call in the FBI and the sheriff's department. They figure out that it's him, all because he could not keep his mouth shut. And there's actually no information on how he got caught technology-wise, and this is why it's so important to keep your trap shut, because every single one of these people got caught simply because they were oversharing. And what's interesting about this is the only thing that they had was that he was dual booting on his phone. They had no other information on how they found him. So I think the other 14-year-olds ratted him out. So, and he didn't go to jail. He just got community service for a year and had to write an apology letter. So, I'm now going to talk about one of my favorite hacker groups, which is LulzSec. There were three main people that we're going to talk about. There's Jeremy Hammond, and he created Hack This Site. And for those of you who don't know, it's actually a better Hack the Box, I would say. It's more complicated. It's less user-friendly, I guess is what I mean. When you sign in, the page is all garbled up, and you got to figure out what's going on. Great website if you want to try it out. He also did a panel at DEF CON the following year where he kind of developed this anti-consumerist, let's take things down because we can. We have Barrett Brown, who was also featured in an episode of House of Cards, if you guys don't know what that is. But he was the pseudo face of Anonymous for about 2 years, and then he almost went to jail for life for it. So we'll talk about that. And the main leader of the guys was Sabu, and he was the co-founder next to Jeremy Hammond, who founded LulzSec. So their first hack. They took down Fox News because they made fun of a rapper named Common, and they didn't like it. So they leaked all of Fox's websites, usernames, passwords, their LinkedIn profiles. If they had dirt, they were going to find it, and all because they made fun of this rapper guy. They also hacked Bethesda, but they didn't leak anything because they liked the games, and they were like, just get this fixed. So, and they would update every single hack that they did on Twitter. My personal favorite and most interesting one, they DDoSed the CIA. They took down the website for a few hours, and I think this is where they started to follow the hackers that were part of the group, because you're taking down the security intelligence form. They are supposed to be the beacon of trust, and you've just shown people that can go down. So eventually, LulzSec died down, and this is all happening in the span of 1 year. These hacks are months apart. This is all in 2011. The hype died down, and they formed AntiSec, and it was basically a movement to take down big corporations who don't care about their security. They said, America needs an overhaul, and we're going to make sure that you guys know. So, yeah. Sabu, we're going to talk about him a little bit. He was part of the Occupy Wall Street protests that were kind of put together, and it was basically people saying, hey, Wall Street is taking money from us. Yeah, let's take it down. And they stayed there for a whole month. People were arrested, maced, and tased, and had their assets seized over this. And this went on for a month before they were finally able to get people to clear out. And eventually, AntiSec went for the Stratfor hack, which Stratfor is a company that does big data protection, kind of like the Japanese company that we were just talking about earlier. And they stole $1 million from them. And they also stole $700 from a retired FBI agent, Brad Garrett. So they couldn't really find anyone to blame for this except for Jeremy Hammond. And while he didn't really get caught on technical mistakes, what happened was he had so many aliases, he could not keep up with them. He was also responding to different names, in the same IRC chat. Somebody would call him Burn, but he would also respond to Pal. So it kind of defeats the purpose of an alias. And he would constantly, no matter which account he was on, he would not change his personality. It was always like, I'm a communist and I think that we should take down militant anti-racist groups or something like that. So in one chat room, this is where it all starts to come down, is he is complaining about using Tor. He's like, it's slow, I can't watch YouTube properly, it's really making me miserable. And out of that, he also shared that he was using a MacBook, and that allowed the FBI to, at this point, he had shared so much. He had also shared that he was from Chicago and where he kind of hung out. They were able to pinpoint around the area where he would be. So all they really had to look for was a MacBook that was using Tor all the time. So don't share anything that isn't important to the task at hand. He got sentenced to 10 years in prison from 2013 to 2020. He's been out for 4 years now. And now I want to talk about Barrett Brown. This guy is a investigative journalist, and he tried to split with Anonymous in 2011, but it was too late because in September 2012, he got arrested for trying to threaten to kill a FBI agent. And then 2 months later, he was indicted on 12 further charges related to the hacking of Stratfor in 2011. And then he was threatened with a 105 prison year sentence. He was able to kind of get around it through a plea deal, which worked down to a shorter sentence. But the question is, how did they catch him? And it was because he pasted a link. That was it. All it had was credit card information, and they gave him almost 100 years for it. Now, my issue with this guy is he put himself in a place of position to be a leader for no reason. The only time people need a leader is when they are falling apart and your mission is going down. In no case did Anonymous, keyword Anonymous, need a anonymous face. So he had a personal website called Project PM, and what I think is the reason that he got 100 years is because he was looking into Trapwire. Trapwire is basically what they have running in New York right now, and they call it something that is more accurate than facial recognition. It tracks your movements, how you're acting, if you're looking down at your backpack too much. It's kind of like CTOS from Watch Dogs. It basically it will profile you. And he was looking into why this is even allowed. And they started to look into the tax forms of if another company was going to buy Trapwire, which was not allowed because it would have formed a monopoly. Everybody said, no, we're not. Turns out they were, and he leaked it. Then we have Tartan, which is basically a software tool that was to control domestic protests, which doesn't sound good considering in one of our amendments we have the right to protest. So, yeah. And it basically was just something that would watch these protest groups that were prone to violence. In other words, went against stuff that they didn't want people to think about, and would watch them. And all Brown did was bring this to light. And I think that's why he got such a harsh punishment, almost. To kind of send a message to other journalists, like, do not look into this. Don't. We're going to send you to jail for a long time. And then, after all this, Sabu gets burnt. And all he does is join an IRC chat without hiding his IP address. That's all it took for them to come to his house. They didn't even have to break in or anything. They just knocked on the door. And what ended up happening was they came in and they said, we are going to take your 2 nieces and we're going to put them in CPS if you do not work with us right now. And he had no other choice. Their mom was in prison and he was not about to let his nieces go into the CPS system. So what ended up happening was all he had to do was report on every single action that they took. Every single time he did an interview, he had to share it with the FBI so they could approve it or not. And if the journalists who wanted to post it without the approval of the FBI, they would get monitored and threatened. Not very good. So Basically, in one movement after this reveal, it had ruined the ability for hackers to get together to form groups because everybody was pointing at each other. You're a Fed. No, you're a Fed. Everybody, there was no trust. They had effectively halted all hacking collaborations due to mistrust. And what's interesting is that Sabu had actually been working for the FBI since almost the beginning of LulzSec. So they were able to turn him to an informant within a day due to the threat of his cousins being sent into the child services, and it happened anyway, despite him completely confined. So this means the FBI was anti-sec the whole time and LulzSec, and it just made it way worse for the people who had already been involved. So like a little timeline, anti-sec forums, anti-sec promotes, Occupy Wall Street, anti-sec hacks Stratford, and then Jeremy Hammond gets 10 years in prison. When in reality, it's just the FBI. So my question is, was there anything to be done? And a lot of people will ignore the basic parts of operational security. And that's don't share, don't overshare, cover up your MAC address. There was no reason for him to share that he was using a Mac. And there's actually some really good just basic things that you can use to kind of avoid this. You can also hide your fingerprint on your computer. And basically what you can do is you can make it look like you're using Chrome when in reality you're using Firefox or Tor. Because the whole point of privacy is not to hide. It's to be as average as possible. Like you're going to see averages everywhere. You want to look like the main guy. You want to look like you're using Chrome. You want to look like you're not doing anything. You want to look like you're the average computer user. That's the whole point of this. Decentralized is a really good program for this, and I really recommend that you check it out and read into it. And I also recommend that you look into Firefox profile privacy creators. Because what you can do is I have one set up where if I close my Chrome or my Firefox, it will prompt me to either open up my 2024 security or my regular to decide what I want to do that day. So very interesting stuff if you want to look into that. And one of our final things is correlation attacks is basically you use your name once, you're done. You share a hobby and then you use that on a different alias, you're done. And don't trust VPNs because we have Interpol and the UN. If a VPN says that they're based in Sweden and they're not collecting any logs, that is a lie. All the US has to do is walk over to Sweden, subpoena it, and be like, thanks guys, we really appreciate it. And they will walk off with your data same day. It happened with a French activist, actually. He was using a VPN, and they went over to Sweden and was like, hey, Sweden, we need this French guy. They handed over the information, and he was put in jail. And I actually have not seen an update on that guy in a while, so keep that in mind. Thanks.